Hey everyone, this is Tom, otherwise known as Scary Spikes, and welcome to another Star Citizen video. In today's video, we'll be going over my top 5 picks for the best ships in their class, part 2. Before we get started, a very quick and special thank you to Teresa, one of our VIP Gold contributors. Teresa, thank you so much for being a member of our community and being so supportive, and also for being a VIP Gold contributor. If you'd like to join us on stream, you can do so Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays over on Twitch at 8 p.m. Eastern, as well as our amazing Discord community. The links for both of those can be found in the description below. Additionally, if you find this video helpful and would like to help me out, the best way to do so is to leave a like to let me know that you enjoyed it, also to subscribe if you're new, and to ring the bell so that you never miss a video in the future. Without further ado, let's get started with this video. Very few ships deserve to be called the best, and in the combat light fighter category, there is no other ship deserving of the title than the Aegis Gladius. The Gladius is an incredible ship for many a good reason, and let me share my thoughts with you now. The Gladius is basically CIG's love child when it comes to light fighters, and there's no doubt why that's the case. It's got really great armaments from the factory floor, it's fast, it's agile, and if looks could kill, it would be a serial murderer. Just the kind of ship that you want for a light fighter. Starting in the front here, we can see that there is a size 3 fixed Gatling gun, and then we have a CF337 laser repeater, also a size 3 fixed weapon under each wing. We also have a selection of missiles on this craft, including 2 size 3 arrestor missiles, as well as an additional 4 size 2 missiles to use on smaller craft or maybe shorter range engagements. And other than that, it just looks absolutely incredible, if I haven't mentioned that already. Let's go ahead and have a look inside the cockpit, and we'll take a look at the MFDs and how everything looks like inside. Having a seat inside the Gladius and watching this canopy come down around you is really an amazing experience, and it gives you that holy shit, something crazy is about to happen feeling, which honestly I wish more ships did. There's a really clean interface in this ship, which I really like. The ship really focuses on giving the pilot all the information they need and none of the information they don't. We have 4 beautiful MFDs here, as well as some annunciator panels and a center-mounted stick with an ejection handle right underneath and the throttle to the left. Pressing the flight ready button plays this most amazing animation during the ship startup sequence. How cool is that? You feel like a complete badass flying the ship, and honestly, it doesn't surprise me one bit. These MFDs are just the right size, and you can set them up to your liking with all the information that you might need during a combat mission. That being said, it's a very affordable ship, and it can be purchased on the RSI web store, as well as in-game at the new deal. I'll make sure to put in the prices in the description. That being said, overall, these are the reasons why this ship wins my category of best light fighter. Just because it happens to do everything better than every other light fighter in the game, at least in my opinion. If you have your own opinion to share, make sure to let us know in the comment section below and tell us why you think so. I'd love to hear your opinions. Let's move on to the next ship. Our next category is going to be the heavy fighter, and surprise, surprise, the winner again is an Aegis Dynamics ship. Not a surprise at all here, because this is honestly one of the best heavy fighters in the game, and it pretty much kills everything in a matter of seconds, including hammerheads. Let me explain. A lot of you might be thinking that this ship is focused on bombing, and while it can fill bombing roles, it is considered and designated as a heavy fighter, and so that's why it's included in this category. First, we start with the looks of the ship, and honestly, Aegis just nails it again here with the folding wings, the old style looking turbine engines, as well as the amazing LED lit air intakes here in the front. So clearly the lighting and everything else is on point on the front of the ship. And speaking of things that are on point, look at the size of this thing. Giggity. This thing is a size 4 laser cannon that comes on the ship by default, and it is fitted to a size 5 gimbal. Of course, you can remove this gimbal and just attach a size 5 weapon if you so choose. Unfortunately, the same cannot be said for these little things sticking out the front of the ship. These are size 2 proprietary weapons that are proprietary only to the Vanguard lineup, which means the Sentinel, the Harbinger, the Hoplite, and, you know, that other one that nobody likes to fly. These can be changed for different types of weapons, but unfortunately they can't be changed for traditional weapons like laser repeaters, like the CF337s, or laser cannons like the Omniskies. Any of the traditional weapons that you would usually put on most ships will not fit here. You have to pick one of the proprietary weapons that are made specifically to fit on this ship. However, you do have a good choice of damage types, including laser, ballistic, distortion, and other types of weapons. So it's not all bad news. Moving around the other side of the ship here, we can see those folding wings that we were talking about earlier, which fold out when the landing gear comes up, and the opposite of which happens when the landing gear comes back down. If we go back here, we can see that we have the outlets for the engines, and then we have a ramp in the back that we can use to enter the ship. And you can go ahead and climb up the ramp, close the door behind you, and then open this door here. Unfortunately, there's not really any airlock here, but you'll have to give your suspension of disbelief a little bit of work. Once we enter the ship, we can see that we have quite a bit of space here. We have a sort of a kitchenette area here with a counter and some storage space. We also have a gun rack here, which is really quite nice to have. And moving forward, we have an engineer or weapon master panel, as well as a size 5 torpedo there, and a couple of bunks. Then we have a door here that leads to the restroom. Finally, moving forward, going through this door here, we can reach the cockpit. If you want a more detailed overview of this ship, make sure to go watch my Harbinger guide. I'll link it in the top right hand corner of the screen. But in the interim, let's have a seat in the cockpit here and have a look at the MFDs in the front. So there's a resounding pattern going on here with all sorts of ships available from Aegis. They seem to kind of build them in much the same way. We have a center mounted stick, similar to the Gladius. We have 4 MFDs, also similar to the Gladius. And we also have a very, very viewable canopy here. Not as much as the Gladius, but still very easy to see. We have our annunciator panel there, as well as the radar in the middle, again, just like the Gladius, and the throttle on the left, again, just like the Gladius. Save a few switches and buttons and things like that, we don't really have anything else here, which just goes to show the design philosophy from Aegis Dynamics. They tend to be very much no frills and all function, which I really like. Starting the ship, we'll start up these MFDs here as well, and there's really nothing new to see here if you are used to Aegis Dynamics ships, as many of them look very, very much the same, especially the smaller ones. That being said, there is a lot of good reasons why this is the best ship in its class. But the reason why it's the best heavy fighter is because it gives you a ton of options with regards to weapons. You also have this turret that can be manned by one of your friends, and alongside these 3 size 5 Stalker torpedoes, you also get a selection of 8 size 2 and 4 size 3 missiles. Really, really good armament, and when you run out of those, you can just go ahead and point your guns and shoot those and make people go boom. For those reasons, the Harbinger is my pick for the best heavy fighter in Star Citizen. Let's move on to the next one. Even though I'm not particularly a big fan of this next ship in the light freight category, I do have to give it the win because, you know, facts. So say hello to the CLEO Nomad. The CLEO Nomad is a light freight ship, and it is very beginner friendly. In fact, it has arrived in a number of different beginner packages, including the actual game itself, and for good reason. This thing is capable of hauling 24 SCUs, albeit a few more details on that in a second, as well as having a decent armament to protect yourself in, a decent view from the inside of the canopy, as well as some amenities for the pilot on those longer treks. So let's have a look around the outside of the ship, and then we'll have a look at the inside. This is one of 3 size 3 hardpoints. These are actually gimbals, and they have size 2 weapons on them, although of course you can change these out to your preference if you prefer 3 size 3 fixed weapons. Very much like on the port side of the ship, on the starboard side of the ship here, we can see a number of size 2 missiles. This gives us a total of 8 size 2 missiles, which is actually pretty solid for a light freight ship. I personally really like the undercarriage of this thing, giggity, and I like the blue strip lighting here as well. And if we move to the rear of the ship, this is where my love for it kind of starts to fall apart a little bit. I'm really not a big fan of this, although again, 24 SCU is nothing to sneeze at, especially if you're brand new to Star Citizen. That being said though, I would never, ever recommend anyone to carry any of their things outside unless you have escorts. This is sort of where this falls apart for me personally. That doesn't make it a bad ship. It actually wins this category, which means it is physically and functionally a great ship. But the fact that you have all your cargo on the outside doesn't really lend itself to being a secure option for transporting said cargo. So that being said, if you are going to use this for cargo transport, make sure to have some escorts or some friends to help you out. Otherwise, you're kind of risking damaging the cargo. And in that case, I would really just use it for transporting smaller vehicles like a rock for rock mining if you want to fly solo. That being said, let's go ahead and have a look at the inside of the ship with this nice consolidated Outland logo here on the left. Go ahead and click there, and we will have a nice ladder come out and we'll be able to climb into the ship. I do like sort of how this ship feels a bit alien. It definitely looks a little bit different, and it's a little bit outside of the design language of consolidated Outland. So that's really quite interesting. So we can open and close the cargo bay from the inside here, which is really quite nice. There's not a whole lot happening here other than some components. And then of course we have another door here. Again, looks like this is some kind of toilet, which is quite nice. On the other side here, you also have some space for storage. So you've got a little shelf up here, and you can put your items and valuables in there. And then moving on to the main area of the ship, if this door will only open, you can see that we have a bed over here on the left-hand side. And on the right-hand side, we have some space and amenities for the pilots. We have like a little stove there, as well as a sink. And of course some more storage space here, as well as a little countertop. So this is actually really nice to have for taking those longer treks and moving things around at long distance. And then moving forward here, we should be able to get into the actual pilot seat. So let's go ahead and sit down and have a quick overview on the HUD and any of the displays. Alright, so we'll go ahead and press R to make the ship flight ready, and then we'll have a look around. This actually gives me a lot of Anvil vibes, but I really quite like it. It's a very, very open cockpit, and if you've ever flown the Asp Explorer in Elite Dangerous, you'll kind of feel a bit at home here. It's a very open cockpit, and you can even see down below you, which also makes the ship very beginner friendly. And again, this is what helped to influence my decision as to why this is the best light freight ship in the game. It's not just about the amenities that it offers the pilot, the armaments that it comes with, or even just how it looks like. It's the fact that it's very functional, even for new players, which is great. We have a number of MFDs here. We have some switches on the sides, and then we have a total of 4 MFDs, one there, one there, one there, and another there. We have the joystick on the right hand side and the throttle on the left hand side with our rudder pedals down below and a radar right in the middle. So that is my winning ship for the light freight category. Again, if you have any picks of your own, make sure to let me know down in the comments and we can talk about it there. Come on, ship. Let me out. Alright, I'll just see you guys at the next ship. Many of you know that I own an Anvil Carrack, and with that Carrack I have a Pisces, which I would argue is probably one of the best combat shuttles around. But what about just a personal shuttle, and what if you don't own a Carrack? Well, in my opinion, one of the best, if not the best, personal shuttle craft in Star Citizen is the Origin 100i, and there are a few good reasons for this. When you just want to get from point A to point B, whether that's to meet your friend somewhere, or just go shopping, or just travel from one station to another without too much fuss, you just want something that's small, fast, easy to fly, and will get you there pretty quickly. All of those things can be accomplished in style and in luxury with the 100i. I really recommend this ship to anyone because it's cheap and affordable. It can't always be purchased on the RSI pledge store, but it is available in game for a very nominal price, which again, I'll make sure to include in the description below. You do have a couple of small weapons in a pinch if you get into a jam, but other than that, this is a great ship just to get you from point A to point B, and you'll look pretty damn good doing it. Let's go ahead and step inside, turn the ship on, and see what we can find for amenities on the inside. One of the biggest things that influenced my decision here is, of course, being able to see really well outside of the ship. If you're flying a small shuttle, you definitely want to see where you're going, especially when you're trying to get into smaller or tighter spaces. Giggity. So having something like a big open canopy like this, even though this one is particularly closed and doesn't open on its own, is definitely a plus. Go ahead and sit down in this leather-clad seat and turn the plane, or the ship in this case, on, and then that way once we have a little bit more lighting, we can have a look around. So turning the ship on, we notice that we have some very similar looking hallmarks as with many other Origin ships, namely the multifunction displays here being projected instead of actually displayed. So we have two, one on either side of us, two on the front here, one on either side of the radar, and then of course a radar in the middle with the HUD up top with the two sticks, one on either side of the chair. So pretty standard fare so far. Let's go ahead and get out of the seat though and have a look at what's behind us. Now that the lights are on, it's a little bit easier to see, although not by that much. And we can see that we do have quite a generous amount of space for a ship of this size. We have a nice bed here, which we can lay on and relax, maybe do some reading or take a nap while our autopilot is taking us to our next destination. Cough, cough, CIG, autopilot, cough, cough. You can go ahead and open this door here, which will open the top, which is actually quite nice here. You can see that we have a number of our components. And then if we open the bottom, we have a little bit of storage here, or possibly space for one or two people if you don't mind sleeping on the floor. That being said, there also is another panel here, but it's not functional. And other than that, we have the door on the port side of the ship, as always. I think this is definitely a great ship for what it does. It's not going to win any huge awards on being the best fighter or the best pathfinder, even though it is technically classified as a pathfinding ship. But I think as a personal shuttle, it definitely ticks all the right boxes while still looking good and keeping you comfortable. Now, I know I'm probably going to catch a lot of flack from all of you Connie lovers, hashtag Connie Club, for this next one, but just bear with me, okay? This is my category, and I'm going to pick it. This is my pick for the best missile boat in the game, and of course, that pick is going to go to the Freelancer MIZ missile boat. Now, I know a lot of you are a little bit upset that I didn't pick the Constellation, and that's not because the Constellation is a bad ship. In fact, it is a great ship, and it did win my award from my previous video about the best overall ship to use in different scenarios regarding bounty hunting in PvE situations. Well, this one is also very good at that, but it didn't win because the gun range on it with the size 3 weapons that it has is not nearly as good as the one on the Constellation, and with the way that missiles work these days, it's definitely a lot more reliable. That being said though, the MIZ is still the best missile boat in the game. Allow me to explain, but let's go ahead and take an exterior tour of it first so I can show you all about it. First of all, we have these two beautiful boobs up here, and from what I understand, these may be radars, and that might be implemented about sometime in the future. But in the meantime, I'm just going to go ahead and fantasize about what those really are for while we move over to the port side of the ship, where we can find the entrance, or the first entrance to the ship, followed by two size 3 Gatling guns. Now, these come on the ship by default, and there is another size 3 pair of these on the other side, the starboard side of the ship. And we have some engines here in the back with some inlets, as well as landing gear coming out at the bottom, and of course the outlets and exhausts on the back. And we also have these wings here, which carry a number of size 3 missiles. In this case, we have 4 size 3 arresters, and again, this is symmetrical to the starboard side of the ship. And in the center rear, we have the other entry or ingress point into the ship, which is this rear ramp, which also exposes the turret, which has a number of size 3 guns inside of it. On the other side of the wing here, as mentioned, we do have the other size 3 missiles, 4 of those to be precise, followed by, of course, the landing gear integrated into the actual engine, and the other 2 size 3 weapons that we mentioned just a second ago. Moving around the front of the ship here in the central landing gear, we are back around to the canopy, which does look like it's a really good view from left to right. Unfortunately, not that fantastic from top to bottom. Let's go ahead and have a look inside the ship from the back to the front. And you're probably wondering where the rest of these 28 missiles are that are supposed to be on this ship. Well, be patient, my friend, we are getting there. Working our way from the back to the front of the ship, we see some really nice lighting on the inside here, and we do still have some cargo capacity on this thing, so you can go bounty hunting while hauling a few packages of your own. Moving through the first section into the second section of the ship here, this is the missile room. This is where a number of the missiles will be stored in the side sections here. And then, of course, we also have our loaders at the top. And looking in here, this is the hauler access room, and we also have a number of cargo containers that can be put in here as well. Of course, we also have our collar at the top there, which we can use for ship-to-station docking once that becomes a thing. I also did make a video of the Freelancer MIZ, so if you want a bit more of a slow-paced tour of the ship, make sure to go ahead and watch that. It's definitely worth a look. So we have a panel here, as well as a panel over here, which will open these doors. Got a washroom as well as a galley. We've got the door for the side entry to the ship, including the ladder that goes all the way down. We've got a number of bunks that double as escape pods. And then we have our bridge with a number of seats here, 2 in the back for the engineers, 1 for the co-pilot, and 1 for the pilot. If we have a seat here in the pilot seat and rev up this thing, we'll get a look at all the different MFDs and what the dashboard actually looks like. Very similar to the Origin ships, and we have a bit of a mixed bag here. We have some holographics displays here, 1 flanking either side of the radar here, and then of course our heads-up display at the top. Then we've also got these 2 down here, which I actually really like. I like that these are built in to the inside of the actual dashboard. Now, as you can see there, we've got 28 size 3 missiles on this thing. It's pretty insane. Now, by default, it does come with 8 of the arresters and 20 of the thunderbolts. And if you would like an idea of how to outfit your Freelancer MIZ, make sure to go ahead and watch that Freelancer MIZ video that I did before to give you an idea of how to outfit it. We go ahead and step out here. We can have a look at the other MFDs available for the co-pilot, which there are 2 there, and looks like 3 holographic for a total of 5. And we've got 1 MFD for each of the 2 engineers sitting in the back. So for that reason, the fact that this thing is built like an absolute tank, it has some incredibly good armor. Yes, it does handle like a space whale, but that doesn't really matter if you blow the enemy to oblivion and you manage to avoid all the asteroids at the same time. This thing honestly has a tremendous amount of firepower with the 4 size 3 guns that are on it. Of course, I would recommend changing those out to laser repeaters. And of course, you have your 28 size 3 missiles as well, which is definitely nothing to sneeze at. Based on the defensive and offensive capabilities of this ship, this is one of the reasons why it wins my best missile boat award in this category. Thank you so very much for watching. If you enjoyed the video and want to help me out, you can let me and YouTube know by clicking the like button, as well as subscribing if you're new and ringing the bell so that you never miss a video in the future. Also, make sure to join us Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays at 8 p.m. Eastern over on Twitch, as well as our amazing Discord community. And of course, if you'd like to support me directly, you can also visit sspgaming.com for some amazing merch handmade by myself just for you. Thank you again for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video. Bye for now.